requirements for IIRG. Okay, so the format of the briefing will be Prof. Hasid will be briefing first about special projects, followed by briefing on IIRG by myself, and we will save questions right to the end until both briefings have been completed. Okay, so without further ado, I invite Prof. Hasid.
Thank you, Prof. Saiful. Can you all hear me? I hope so. So, Assalamu alaikum and good morning to everybody. Welcome to this briefing session on special project, which is new, and also our good old IIRG with a slight change this time around. Let me try to share my screen. So I displayed my computer. So briefing on research cluster special project. Can somebody give me a signal that you can see this?
Yes, Prof.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. So it's a very simple and short presentation. We have first the background to this special project, and then the research cluster special project that we are going to float. And it will be followed by a summary of the concept paper guidelines that you already received, I believe. A little bit of the background of the research and development scenario in the country. So as you see, this is statistics which is a bit older. We have up to 2018 data, but I think it shows the trend. So as you see, the government has been spending money, huge amount of money over the years since 2002, and it has been steadily rising until recently. And with this big spending on the R&D activities, we also see this trend, the number of publications. So the academics didn't, let's say, did their job, basically, to put it simply. So they live up to the expectation. They produced papers, and this was acclaimed internationally. So I show you one quote from Elsevier. They organized this event in November 2019, and just read it for yourself, what it says. So taken together, the findings suggest that Malaysia is realizing a return on research investment dollars and is one of the most productive nations in comparison to 5 other Asian nations and territories analyzed in the report. But obviously, for this kind of testimonial, so you have to take it with a bit of salt. So this is a publishing company, so they are very happy if you produce more, they earn more. So they give you, as a researcher, they give us basically total applaud that the research investment has been giving us the productivity that we expect, but that is only in terms of publication. So that we have to understand. Of course, we have the reason to congratulate ourselves that we have performed well, and we live to the expectation of the nation, and we are on the map. However, there is another side of the story. And this side is that you also know that when a government spend money on R&D, they have obviously one first goal is that they will put the nation in the intellectual map of the world, which Malaysia has succeeded. However, they have a second goal, which is even more important to different quarters, different policymakers. And that is that this research money must bring benefit to the nation, which is non-academic. So there was a review, an independent review of the innovation activities and policies of Malaysia in 2016, and I share a part of their findings, which is relevant to us, relevant to universities. So the observation that they make that universities in Malaysia, there is a lack of demand-oriented research. And the research that is done in university lack relevance to the industry, lack of cooperation between industry in general. And also there is not enough support to perform interdisciplinary research, which is important to solve societal problems. So their recommendation, I just quote one of these, which is relevant to us. So they're recommending us that the research that we do in the university must act to enhance the commercial potential. To realize the commercialization, that should be one of the goals. And also must address the societal challenges. So that is the thing. And let us keep this in mind. Then another event, COVID came in, and it is a serious event that happened. We are recovering, but we suffered a lot. So this is a report by the International Strategic and International Studies Malaysia. And in one of their recent reports, so we know that the Malaysian economy has suffered. So in 2020 Q2, the economy actually contracted by 17%, which is a big thing. So this is another background that we have to keep in mind. Now let's look back what we have been doing over the years. So realizing that we need to do research which brings benefit to the nation outside academia. So University of Malaya has been trying to build our capacity in creating impact out of our research. So UM started recently in the last few years this impact-oriented interdisciplinary research, where we train and empower our researcher to think in terms of impact even before they design their project, so that it will bring both benefits. So one is the academic benefit, publication, citation, scholarship, and the second one is societal and economic benefit. So that we have been trying to do over the years. However, given the very dire consequence of this COVID, which has impacted the economy so much, so the top management, the VC and the top management strongly believes that UM must do something additional in addition to what we have been doing. And that additional thing is to support the national economy through what we do our best, through our R&D, through knowledge transfer, and any other related activities that we can do at the university. So that is a commitment the VC and the top management made, that we will spend our additional efforts on helping the nation. And this is the background of this special project. And I think you have listened to the VC on different occasions, so he highlighted the importance of it and also our commitment to work along this direction. Now, to do this additional effort, so we cannot work on our traditional areas. If you remember the IIRG that we have been doing, we also have focuses, but those focuses were based on the niche and thrust areas that the university identified based on our strength and the academic trend that is happening in the world. So we have identified those niche and trust areas, and we initiated this impact-oriented research project, and we will continue to work on this, but obviously we will update the niche and trust areas every few years. So this will continue, but now that there is a need for additional efforts to support national economy directly, then we have to focus for this effort. We cannot go for the niche and trust areas, the traditional those areas will not be helping us. And one of the focus is this one. So we have to look back what the country planned for this 5 years, 2021 to 2025. This includes the recovery from the COVID-19, and we need to focus our efforts on these additional activities that we are planning. So that is the basis for what we will talk about today. So to address this issue, cluster came up with this research cluster special project. Now let me explain a little bit briefly what this is all about. So this special project is in addition to the IIRG that we already have. And this project, broadly speaking, aims at providing solutions to critical national issues. So that is the main goal, but some of the national issue will overlap with the global issues also. So it addresses in a focused way the national issues and come up with solution to any particular issue that you consider is valuable. And the main characteristics of this special project is that this project must be formulated in such a way that it brings the attention of the government, of the agency, of the industry, who will see value in it and who will be willing to invest in it. So that is the whole idea. So the special project is intended not as an end. So it's a means to secure recognition, to secure substantial external grants from government and industry. So that is the number one goal for this project. So in order to achieve that, we cannot just focus on any subject matter. So we must focus on these national issues, the real issues that the government, the ministries, the agencies, the industry will care. So we have to spend quite some time in thinking and brainstorming in finding out what exactly the nation needs. And obviously the RMK 12 documents can help us a lot to have this start of the brainstorming. And in order to achieve this goal 1 and 2, we as academics cannot do it on our own, because we need to understand what is the situation out there. So we need to talk with our stakeholders outside academia, and stakeholders means anybody who may have interest in the project. So they can be ministry officials, they can be officials from different non-government agencies, non-government agencies, industry in general. So anybody that can help the cause of this, helping the nation, will be our stakeholders. And they will have ground knowledge. So what is the need? What is the actual necessity that we need to target? And that is the reason why what we will do, we will co-create the research projects by talking with them. So we cannot create this project, this kind of special project on our own. Because as in academia, what we do for academic research, we go and search for literature and we see the trend of what other researchers are doing. And from there, we find an academic problem and then we try to solve it. But this special project has a different approach. So our main target is to solve national issues. So we need to understand the national issues and then we formulate it into a project. And this special project, our researchers will be the lead researcher, but we understand that in order to come up with a good research project that is worthy of consideration, in some cases, our expertise in may not be enough. So we may have to work with other experts. So this is also one of the goals that we encourage our researcher to build team beyond academia and also beyond So we talk with researchers in other universities, in other research agencies, and so on, so that we can bring the complementary expertise to solve this national issue that we are targeting. And obviously, these issues will be interdisciplinary in nature. So it will have this interdisciplinary flavor, this special project. And in order to achieve this number one, so we need to have in the group researchers with very good track record. So that is why we encourage the researcher to form research group with different varieties of expertise and track record, so that it will be attractive to the funding agencies. And as for the team, there is no restriction. It's very flexible. Anybody from lecturer to professors, senior professors can be the team leader and can be the team members. Now, to come back to the focus areas, as I highlighted, so it will be mainly the RMK 12, the issues that are already documented and the government already tell us what the nation needs. And we have to focus on this. That is the primary focus. So this document will be very, very important, and we will make it available to you. And it's also freely available on the internet, different version of it. In addition to that, we also know that different government ministries and agencies have other priority areas. They have other policies, they have other roadmaps to achieve goals, which again are linked to this in some way. So we will also consider this, and some of them are also linked with the international goals also. So as you see, so the main focus area will be solving the issues that nation face in implementing the 12th Malaysia Plan 2021-2025. While looking at your project details, you may also consider other relevant issues like 1010 Malaysia Science and Technology Innovation and Economy, my STIE. You can map your research project on that, and also national policy on science, technology, and innovation. So those should be let's say they should have connection and also complementary role with those policies. But again, to highlight, so that will be the primary goal of this 12th Malaysia Plan. Now, the document that talks about it is quite big. So let me just show you one of the document there. So the RMK 12 document, there are different versions. So this is a pamphlet version, there is a executive summary version, and the full document. The full document is actually 532 pages. So I don't want to frighten you with those 532 pages. So I just want to give you a glimpse of what is in there that government is considering to achieve in the next until 2025. So after this post-COVID time, so obviously the number one priority is restoring the growth momentum. And there are a lot of details involved, and all of you will find something that is relevant to your expertise if you go through this document. Just a flavor. The next one is propelling growth of strategic and high impact industries, as well as micro, small and medium enterprises. So large industries as well as SMEs or MSMEs, those are also priority. And these strategic and high impact industries, they defined 8 industries. So you will be able to have a look at those. Some of them are electronics and aerospace, creativity, tourism, and so on, and halal, etc. The next theme is this enhancing defense, security and well-being and unity. So again, there are a lot of details involved. ensuring national security and sovereignty, leveraging sports in building an active nation, and so on and so forth. Let me just quickly flip through this for the sake of time. Addressing poverty and nation building and building an inclusive society. This is also considered to be a very high priority by the government, because during the COVID time, so you know that some section of the society suffered a lot compared with others, and we need to address that. So anybody with good projects on this, I think will be able to attract good fund as well. Improving regional balance and inclusion. So that is another topic. Enhancing socio-economic development in Sabah and Sarawak. That relates to infrastructure, access to social services, and so on. So let me show you a few others so that you have a broad overview of what this RMK 12 entails. Advancing green growth for sustainability and resilience. And there are details involved there. I will not go through this. Enhancing energy sustainability and transforming the water sector. So water is also an important priority. Developing future talent, those working in the area of talent development, education, so they can find a lot of important issues to solve. Hosting, digitalization and enhancing and advanced technology. So researchers working in Industrial Revolution 4.0 will find it this area very important. Enhancing efficiency of transport and logistics. Again, COVID has impacted this logistic a lot, so there are a lot of scopes to improve this sector with new innovation. And strengthening public sector service delivery. So it's an ongoing thing, so we always need to improve this public sector delivery, particularly if we can use technology to achieve that. So those sort of solutions will be valuable. I think so. This is a flavor of what is in there in this RMK 12 document. Let me just go back. Now, as for the main deliverables that is expected of this special project, so obviously I highlighted one thing is that one, this project must bring external grant. So that is very important. And in the process of carrying out this project, we would like our researchers to build strategic partnership with stakeholders, and that partnership should be long lasting. It's not just one-time issue, so that we can engage with the partners in different sectors on a continuous basis and keep on delivering impact in the future as well. And the project, the special project should also show us that the outcomes that it will achieve will be substantial, and also tell us in a clear way how this will be achieved. And the deliverables will be quite diverse, to be honest with you. So as I mentioned, so the intention is to solve the national problem. So that is the primary thing. And in order to solve this problem, you may need to have different types of outputs, different types of deliverables. So it could be patent, it could be any other IP, it could be development of technology, product, process development, it could be policy guidelines, policy papers, manuals, artistic or creative work. So it is really very, very diverse. So we will be very open. So university will be very open to consider the deliverables that you think is important for this project. And of course, it has to come with some justification. Having said that, whatever we do in the university, we are after all scholars. So we must have something that will bring us some scholarly output. So high quality publication, this is always given. But given the fact that you will probably spend a lot of efforts on other types of outputs and deliverables. So this research output probably will be negotiable. So we will be flexible on this. It will depend on the type of project, because the special project will not have a singular characteristics. It will depend. So you have seen already, you have these different areas in the RMK12. Each area will have its own necessity, will have its own requirements. So we cannot in advance define what should be the deliverables. So in short, there will be a lot of flexibility, so you don't have to worry. So if you target a solution which you think, which you are convinced that will be important, then you need to justify what will be the deliverables to achieve those solutions. Now, the last bit of it, it's the summary of the concept paper. I think you already received it. So it's a very simple one. There is nothing fancy about it. You are all used to this. So what is important here is that you will have to tell us in the concept paper who are the people you have engaged. So the engagement has to start now. And obviously, if it is shortlisted, you will have more time to strengthen that engagement before you come up with the full proposal. But the engagement must be there even prior to submission of this concept paper. And we expect the researcher to give us just not the name, just not the title of the organization they will be talking with or they have been in contact. We expect that there will be a description of who they are and what sort of engagement has already been made, and what will be the roles and contributions of the stakeholders in the project. So we would like to see that stakeholders see value in the project. They want to invest in some form, not necessarily in money, but in kind, in giving their expertise, in giving their advice. So we'd like to see a substantial contribution from their stakeholders. Then obviously comes the background of the research project. I think you all know a little bit of research summary, so you have to justify and tell us exactly. So after carrying out this project, so what will be the benefit really? So what solution you will be giving us? Obviously, you will tell us in much more detail in this section. So what exactly is the solution and what is the benefit? Who will benefit it from? And also we would like you to think long term. So don't consider this as just one project. So you may think about this immediate, short and long term and see how you want to progress in the future. So beyond this particular special project. And obviously the targeted issues, I think I already highlighted. So you have to pinpoint what issue exactly you are going to solve. And again, we as academic cannot identify the real issue that is necessary to be solved to address the problems. So we have to talk with the stakeholders about this. Objectives will be there. So at this stage, you will have to write an overview, just very brief overview of the methodology that you will be using. And this is important. So you also have to mention that while you are carrying out this special project, you are targeting a big external grant. And what is the external grant that you have identified, or potential external grant that you have identified? And if you want to realize the dream project under this special project, so the big project that you want to have with multiple partners in UM, outside UM, stakeholders. So we want you to think big, and then what are the level of funding that you will be asking for from external agencies. And in order for you to start this process, so we from the university will provide you a kind of precursor grant or a seed grant. And the expectation of the university is that you will sow the seed, and then the seed will now become a plant, it will grow, and it will bring benefit in the form of this big external grant. So that is the whole idea. And the projects that will show this in a convincing way, that the project has the potential to bring external grants, has the potential to solve a real problem. So obviously they will have higher chance of getting this special project. It will be really very special project. And the duration to spend this money and also to make all those preliminary work and talking with the agencies coming up with the big project is 2 years. And we don't want to make the special project concept paper too complicated, so it will be a small one, very brief, very relevant, very to the point. So we expect it to be about 5 pages, excluding the references. And these are the specification times Roman. This 11, not less than this, and single spacing. And this is the timeline. So we are now here today. And you will have 1 month to prepare the concept paper and submit it. So during this 1 month, we expect a lot of vigorous engagement with the stakeholders and building the team, talking with internal team and talking with outside team as well. And we expect that if you do it as a group, then things will be easier for you instead of thinking as a single person leading the project. Of course, a single person will lead the project officially, but we need a group who will be dedicated to devoting their time and efforts to solve this national issue. And in this process of defining the project during this 1 month, so you will engage with the relevant stakeholders. And if you need any help in connecting with any other external parties, I think the university will be happy to assist in ways it can. And research cluster obviously will be happy to do that. So after the concept paper is submitted, there will be a screening of it, and there will be set criteria that will be communicated to you later on. And this will be happening during this time. And the winner will be announced in 22nd July of the concept paper. This first screening is basically technical screening, to tell you the truth, and perhaps our ROs can tell us a little bit more later on. But the actual evaluation of the concept paper and the pitching, so the shortlisted concept paper will be invited to pitch before a panel, and that will be happening during the 1st to 12th of August. And after that, there will be announcement for the submission of full proposal. So not all concept paper will be invited to submit the full proposal, only those who has high potential. So that will be announced on 15th of August. And then there will be a briefing followed by that on the full proposal, and all the details will come. And you will have enough time to submit the full proposal, and the last date will be 3rd of October. The evaluation will happen during the 31st of October, and this evaluation will happen in multiple stages involving the top management also in the university, involving a committee. So it will be a rigorous evaluation, and after that the recommendation of the committee will go to the TNC, and the TNC will finally formally approve the selected proposal that was given green light by the top management, and it will be announced on 7th November. I think with that I am done, so I will stop here and share my screen also, and we'll be happy to take questions at the end of both things.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Professor. Thanks, Professor.
Yeah, thank you. Let me share my screen.
Yep.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, so yeah, before we move to the questions, I'll do a brief presentation on the IIRG. We'll save all questions to the end. We're taking note of questions already typed in the chat. So feel free to add questions to that, and we'll try to address them at the end of the presentation of the session. Okay, up next is Impact-Oriented Interdisciplinary Research Grant, IIRG 2022, Cycle 5. Now, for those who have attended previous briefings, you will notice some changes, minor changes, but I think it's going to be quite effective, so to speak, on our side. It's I will highlight those changes as we go through the presentation. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you again. So again, IIRG is going to be focused on the niche and thrust areas of UM, as everyone is already aware, I hope. So the niche and thrust areas are divided into categories within the various research clusters: SAH, HWB, FNW, and IISS. Okay, next slide. Now, the spirit of IIRG is to develop impactful research. Although we do expect high quality publication to come out from the IIRG programs, the main primary driving force is towards impactful research. And this research is expected to address real world issues directly related to both society or industry. And within these projects, there must be at least two different disciplines from two different faculties, so as to approach any problem that you're trying to solve, both from the from different perspectives. In other words, solving problems that otherwise cannot be solved by a single discipline. So that's the spirit of IIRG. So when preparing your team or preparing your proposal, please always consider this, and don't try to look for technicalities. Don't try to just fulfill the criteria for the sake of fulfilling the criteria, but rather work on the spirit of it. Okay, next slide. Right, so definition of interdisciplinary is any research that integrates information, data, techniques, so on and so forth from at least two disciplines. Okay, and in other words, again, the hope is that you'll be able to solve problems that cannot be tackled by a single discipline. Next slide. And of course, the objective is to strengthen the niche and thrust areas, encourage interdisciplinary research, and also drive impact-oriented research. Next slide. For the definition of IIRG with regards to interdisciplinary, is it here? It must contain at least two different disciplines from two different faculties. Okay. Now, I hope that, again, you don't look for technicalities. For example, you have two different faculties such as science and medicine, but you have researchers from the same discipline, such as microbiology from science, microbiology from medicine, or biochemistry from science, biochemistry from medicine. Again, work with the spirit of IIRG, get people from different faculties, from different areas of research, and tackle an actual interdisciplinary problem. Okay? Now, there is a slight change. It used to be that we called the different programs or projects within the IIRG program as sub-programs. They are now referred to as work packages. I'll describe this a bit more later. And also, there is another change with regards to the eligibility of individuals who can serve as the program leader and as work package leader. It used to be open for everyone, but for IIRG Cycle 5, only lecturers, senior lecturers, and associate professors, don't get angry, qualify as program leader or work package leaders. Others can qualify as team members. We'll look at that in a bit. And the maximum ceiling for IIRG remains the same at 300,000, and the duration of the program is set at 24 months. Next slide, please. So if you look at this, this is an example of the application form. For those who have applied, will probably be familiar with this, but those who have not, you can have a look at this form. It is downloadable from our website. Yeah. Okay. And there are slight changes in it where we also request you to elaborate on what are your target national or international issues that you wish to tackle with this project. And of course, also highlight the proposed solution you have for this project. Next slide.
Yeah, appointed leader.
Okay, we also request that for this time around, for the program leader, you also name a next appointed leader. Very similar to that for FRRG. The reason is, of course, if anything should happen to the program leader, we do not want the program simply to die because there is no longer any leadership in there. Okay? In other words, the next appointed leader will take over should there be a need for that person to take over. Sabbatical, yada yada, so on and so forth. Right. Again, for this one, you're also expected to describe how the nature, how your program is actually interdisciplinary in nature. You have to describe and explain in less than 300 words how the different disciplines combine together to solve the common problem. As an analogy, it's very similar to how previously we requested you to explain the interconnectivity between the sub-projects. Okay? As for, we are also requesting you again, the membership, the next slide, okay, this slide, membership. Okay, this slide lah. Okay, now if you remember, in the previous IIRG cycle, the membership of the team in the projects are subdivided into 3 sub-projects. Sub-project 1, there's a group of people there. Sub-project 2, there is a group of people there. Sub-project 3, there is a group of people there. For the current IIRG, the cycle 5, we have chosen to abolish this grouping. Okay, you have 3 work packages. We'll explain in a bit later. But membership of the program is going to be flat. Each member will not belong to any of the work packages. They all will belong to the single main program. Okay, the idea is that if you remain within your respective projects, then the chances are there will be less interaction between the members, because remember that the spirit of IIRG is interdisciplinarity. We don't want you to work in silos within your respective projects. As such, with a flat membership, where one person can be a member of any of the work packages that try to solve the problem together, then the hope is that everybody will mingle, work together towards a common goal. Okay? And as such, we are requesting you to name your research team for the IIRG as a single folder, single file. And also note that this is going to be the same even for the rest of the forms, where we no longer divide individual proposals like sub-project 1, 2, and 3. When you can see that later when you download the form. Next slide. Okay, we have also changed a bit about the academic versus non-academic output. As you can see, this is the list of acceptable academic, non-academic output. There was some confusion in the last cycles where people think that you have to fulfill all the academic and all the non-academic output. But for this one, you only have to choose one, actually, of the non-academic output and one from the academic output. The academic output is a given because this is something we have to do as it is a research grant. The non-academic output, we hope, will help you drive your respective projects towards impact. Because for any project to have impact, you have to have engagement and you have to have visibility and dissemination of the information. So as you can see here, the different categories of non-academic output, most of it are geared towards that, whereby you can engage, you can disseminate, so on and so forth. Okay, next slide. Now, this is a deeper description about the work packages that I mentioned just now. Now, for the program, it's the usual IIRG program. And for the proposal, you are expected to write a proposal for the entire program. We're not going to be requesting individual proposals for sub-programs because, I mean, we've abolished sub-programs anyway. But this program is divided into work packages. and we have put it as a minimum of 3 work packages. Okay, and as I mentioned just now, there is no membership to each work package, but rather your membership is to the program, and therefore it's no longer a hierarchical where you have program leader, project leader, program members. It's a flat membership. But for each work package, we still will appoint 1 work package lead. Yeah, the reason is twofold. One, somebody has to be responsible to ensure that each work package works well and moves forward. And that will be the person responsible to reporting to the program leader about the progress, so on and so forth, before that is submitted to the cluster. And the other reason is that it's actually a technical reason where we still need our PIs for the MIRA audit. So that's it. Next slide, please. Okay, now a bit about pathway to impact. I'm putting this slide here. I did not put this in the previous presentations because there is a certain lack of clarity when it comes to impact. I mean, generally speaking, researchers know what impact is, but just to make it a bit more clear, I've included this following slide. Now, there are varieties of things that need to happen before you can get impact at the end. Of course, the first thing, as you can see here, is the input itself. Next slide. And this, sorry, next slide, please. The input is actually the proposal, the program, so on and so forth. And when you have that proposal, and if you do get the grant, then you will carry out all the activities that you have proposed in your proposals. And these are categorized as activities, and they include the research itself, engagements, facilities. Next is the output from the research itself. And these outputs include anything from publications, IPs, patents, policy briefs, so on and so forth. Now, some may argue that the output, such as publications, if they have high citations, so on and so forth, that they are called academic impact. That may be true, that can be argued, but at the end of it, what IIRG is looking for is not just publications with high impact. That we have already done. UM is excellent in that sense. We have produced good publications. We have had high citations. But the idea is to push these outputs, these citations, these publications that are supposedly good, to the point where they can directly serve the nation and society. That we don't do very well. So that's the hope of the IIRG. Okay? From your outputs, you may get things that come up. For example, you get changes that are affected with the outputs. And this can be, for example, a new policy or a change in policy. If you're lucky, you may get a spin-off company, or you may even come up with improved methods to do things, such as methods that will save water, strategies that will save the use of electricity, for example. Again, some may want to argue that this is outcome, but no, some may want to argue that this is impact, but no, it is not yet impact, it is outcome. Outcome meaning you have these new strategies, you have these new policies, but until there is proper implementation and there is an effect felt from these policies, from these outcomes, it is still not yet considered impact. Okay, next one, please. Impact itself, therefore, is defined as measurable change that actually takes place. Okay, for example, you came up with a policy that is supposed to lower unemployment. A government agency takes it up, implements the policy, and due to the implementation of the policy, you get actual lowering of unemployment. That's impact. Okay, and again, for example, if you have identified a cure for cancer and the government takes up that cure, uses it, and this lowers death from cancer and increases the quality of life, that is impact. Okay, now if you notice on this figure, your proposals, engagements, facilities, your outputs, the changes, so on and so forth, all this is actually put into the requirements of IIRG. It's not to burden you with reporting or anything. It's basically to drive and guide the project so that you fulfill all these criteria, all the way from input, activities, output, outcomes, and eventually impact, so that it's sort of like a clear highway or driveway or guide towards impact. Yeah. And finally, once you have your impact, just to clarify, generally speaking, there's only 3 forms of impact: social, economic, or environmental. Any output or outcome or impact that you measure can be categorized into these 3 very small, very big, broad categories. And the way you tell your to explain your impact, not all impact is going to be directly measurable, is by telling your story through a narration. That's why in the application, we also request that you provide an impact statement. Okay? You may think that this is an exercise that is just an exercise, but no, because at the end of the IIRG, we hope that you engage with the relevant authorities, bodies, industry, so on and so forth, to get collaboration or more grants from them. And as such, you must be able to explain your projects in such a way that the impact from it is immediately available. Because if you're going to engage external parties, they will be very, very concerned with impact. They don't really care too much. I mean, they care about the methods and all that. But the idea is that when you engage them, since you're from a good university or a good researcher, they actually trust you with your methodology. But the impact is often not highlighted by our researchers. Through the IIRG programs, we hope that you develop the skills, the know-how, and the understanding to be able to package your projects in such a way that you can immediately demonstrate the impact through your impact statement. All right, next slide. Okay, so how do you actually come up with impacts or impact statement? This is just a very brief guide on that. We will have a workshop on this somewhere in July, I think. So for you, when you're writing your statement, you're preparing your proposal, you may want to consider the following thing. What exactly will your research change, or what it will change? And who is your research for? What's the target group? What's the specific community, for example? And of course, with your research, you must try to figure out how exactly do you do this in your research. Next slide. And from that, you will identify the routes of research. This is all within the application form, actually, and the expected outputs. Dissemination of the research, you have to engage stakeholders, you have to involve possible end users, and of course, co-creation or co-production with the relevant individuals. And if there is uptake of your research outside of academia, then there is a good chance that it will have impact. Now, I understand that there may be concerns that we're expecting impact in 2 years. Actually, no, we are not expecting impact in 2 years. Your 2-year research under IIRG is the initial stage. In other words, we want you to plan your research so that at the end of it, where the final goal or objective of the research is achieved, it can be 5 years down the road, it can be 10 years down the road, there will be impact. It can no longer be research for the sake of research. Malaysia is not a rich country. We have limited funds. Okay? The research has to be for a purpose. It must it must serve the nation. It must serve the nation, and it must have a specific target with full impact at the end of it. Okay, next slide. Now again, you will see this in the application form. There was some confusion on how to use this. This is actually a table intended to help you write your impact statement. It is not for you to fill in the table. For example, if you look at column 1, who will your research benefit? We don't want you to write down there who your research you will benefit. It's for you to use this guide to craft your impact statement in a separate paragraph. Okay, next slide. Another thing is SMART objectives. Although this should be a given, but unfortunately it's not. There are still people who write SMART objectives as in SMART as in pandai, but rather SMART is an acronym for the following: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. This one you can Google. There are hundreds of different sources that will explain what SMART objectives are. Okay, but just bear in mind, it's not SMART objective, but it's S.M.A.R.T objectives. Okay, next slide. And there is just some highlights about the expected outcome. Salary cap at 30,000. For output for the IIRG, although you're now flat in the same sense of a program with a minimum of 3 work packages, each program is still expected to carry out at least 3 human capital developments. Human capital developments here means masters and PhD. They don't have to graduate within the program, but they have to be registered within the first year of the program. Yeah. You can hire RA, but the RA must eventually be registered as a GRA in a master's or PhD program. As for travel, field work only, and of course, no equipment allowed to be purchased under the IIRG program. Another thing that needs to be highlighted, because there are many occasions where this is not adhered to. Any output in terms of publications, for example, is only going to be accepted if the output is published after the project or grant has been awarded, and it must, of course, cite the right grant number, and it must, of course, contain authors from the project. And of course, it must be directly related to the project that is being approved. It cannot be some random paper that you have and you just include the grant number and your name on it and expect it to be counted as an output for the program. Okay, next slide. And this is budget details. I think everyone is familiar with this. Next slide. Oh, and for budget details, we're not going to carry it out like the government grants where we require full quotations, so on and so forth. It's okay to just specify what it is for. We're quite reasonable in that sense. And risk assessment with any project, especially one as challenging as IIRG, you have to be sure what you're doing, and you must be clear how to overcome any issues or any problems that will come about. So we want you to do a risk assessment. This is just an example of how to do it. Well, this is the example of how to do it. You must describe what the risk is in detail. You cannot simply mention like financial risk. No, that's not a risk. Experimental risk. You have to describe exactly what the risk is. Okay? You can't just say experimental. You have to refer to the specific experiment. What could go wrong? And then which package is directly involved with that? And of course, what are your proposed risk mitigation measures? And we will take this very seriously because this will, ensure whether or not the project will be able to be completed within 2 years. Okay, next slide. And additional requirements, of course, if you remember the impact diagram, pathways towards impact, we need some non-academic input from you guys, particularly for promotional and visibility. This one we use whenever we are engaging. The cluster does a lot of engagements with government agencies and also private bodies, companies, so on and so forth. And often we need to bring information about our researchers, and that will be from this pool of promotional information, such as infographics, videos, lay abstracts, so on and so forth. And also, the biggest thing on this, for those who have completed, for those who know people who have completed Cycle 1, 2019, you know that we do take this very seriously. You must show evidence at the end of 21 months into the project that you have prepared a proposal that is ready for submission for an external grant. Okay, we use the term grant very loosely. It can be an actual grant, it can be industrial engagement, it can be international grants, so on and so forth, but it must be there. And you must also identify to which grant or agency or department this proposal is going to be submitted. Because like I said, IIRG is towards impact, and we do understand that you can't get impact, not necessarily able to get impact in 2 years, That's why we want to ensure that you have taken all steps necessary to ensure the continuity of your project and the ability to achieve the proposed impact. Doesn't matter 5 years, 10 years, but it must continue. We can no longer do research just at the front end where it's just for the sake of publications and graduating students. Because if we as a university continue to do that, we will never be a truly good university. We'll have papers, we'll have students, fair enough, but there's no real impact. And as a lot of you are aware, there is a criticism to us actually given by sometimes the government, sometimes the public. This has to change. And I know we have the ability to do it. We are very, very good at what we do. It's just that additional effort to ensure we go all the way to the end and get that impact at the end of our projects. Okay? And a bit of a warning there, note, those who fail to produce the required research outputs may not be considered for any new internal grant applications for a period of up to 3 years. Okay? Thank you. Oh, next slide. There we go. Bloom. Okay. And of course, these are standard things. If you're working, you have to read the Safety and Research Handbook, understand what is there, and comply with everything. Yeah. And also, of course, always stick to research ethics requirements. And when we talk about research ethics, it's not just about ethics in terms of working with samples, so on and so forth, but actual research ethics. Okay. For example, you shouldn't have a grant with too much overlap with another grant. That's unethical. I don't think we have to go through that in detail because I'm pretty sure everyone is very ethical in that sense. Next. And finally, with regards to the form, we also have a checklist. So when you submit, make sure that you have ticked every box of the documents that require so that we can easily and properly and objectively review your respective applications. Okay. And again, a note, incomplete applications will not be processed. Now, when you submit your application, we will check it. Yeah. But don't submit it on the last day, 3 minutes before the deadline and expect it to be checked. It's simply impossible. So I'd like to suggest that give yourself and us a bit of room so that submit like a few days, a week early. We can do the check and then return it to you, and you can correct it and add the necessary information and documents so that you're not going to be disqualified based on the technicality. Okay, next slide. And finally, the timeline. So announcement 15 August, submission or deadline is 15th August. So you got about 2 months, sorry, 2 weeks. And of course, evaluation round 1, shortlisted candidate, then we'll have a round 2 evaluation. There will be a pitch of proposal as usual, and that will be in October. Any revisions on the 14th, and final announcement will be made on the 18th of November 2022. And the actual grant or money you get sometime in December. Now, there will be a series of workshops, some workshops in between to help you write your proposal, to help you craft your impact, so on and so forth. And that will be somewhere in July, August, somewhere in the middle. Okay, next slide. And finally, this is just our one of our clinics lah. This is the proposal clinic on the 22nd in July 2022. Exact date we will mention later lah. So this one you will be continuously updated by the research cluster. Next slide. And pitching is fine. We'll have the separate briefing for pitching next. That's all. Thank you very much. And I think we're ready for the Q&A session. Yeah, maybe we can go through the ones here first. Okay, Prof. Hasib, there is a question for you here from Prof. Hari Krishna regarding IP. So I don't know if this is directly related to the briefing, but we'll try and answer anyway. You can see, since the industry, Prof. Hasib, you're muted. Yeah, now you're okay. You're okay now.
Okay, all right. So since the industry is contributing towards the matching grant, whether in kind or through monetary contribution, does the IP belong to the industry? So it's negotiable because we have this UMCIE. They have policy where UM, I think, is willing to share the IP if that is reasonable. I think you don't have to worry too much about it. So when it comes to the IP issues, please talk with UMCIE. I'm sure we'll find a solution.
For participants, yeah, you can either type your questions or you can raise your hand and ask directly. I have a question from Muhammad Farid. Can co-researchers in one of the SPs from the last IIRG cycle apply SPI or SP? Your co-researchers, so yeah, it's fine. You can apply SPI if you wish. Yep. Okay. Lewis. So all projects in history, literature, philosophy, and so on are not eligible, and most fundamental research which impacts is difficult to guess beforehand. I'm unclear on how you came to the conclusion that projects in history, literature, and philosophy are not eligible. Lewis, Prof. Lewis, are you here?
Because there's no concrete impact, so it's difficult to apply for this type of grants. There's no real or direct benefits for the nation for this type of research. So again, it doesn't fit with what you presented.
I will differ on that. Let me just show you the this RMK12 document if I can share. Yeah. So we believe that there will be scope if we dig enough. Yep. There will be way to find. Let me just try to share this document. What is this? Okay. All right, so let me go there. Some of the things that you may consider interesting for your case, like enhancing defense, security, well-being, unity of the nation. So I guess the social science can contribute, addressing poverty, inclusive society. The philosophy will be, I guess, have a place there. Improving regional balance and inclusion. That is again a topic which will bring social sciences from different disciplines together. So if you could just have a look at those documents, we will make them available. And I'm sure you will find a way, and please talk with our great Prof. Stefani, and she will be able to help you, no doubt about it.
Thank you.
We have a question from Prof. Karonisa. With regards to the special projects, how many projects that UM will fund for this round? Special projects, there's no real rounds, so to speak. It's open for this one for the purpose of our administrative things. And as to how many, it depends. We have a certain amount of money that's available, but we don't know what the amount is you are going to apply for. The cap is 150, so we'll work on that and continue awarding until pretty much we run out of money. Yeah. Next, Prof. Ian, can international staff on contracts be a lead for the special projects? I would think yes. Yeah, Prof. Sip, there's no issue, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yep. Next, Prof. Nurida, we need to support any evidence from stakeholder letter engagement to support concept. Definitely yes. Yep. Yeah, Prof. Steph has actually responded to the question just now. The impact can be related to nation building. Yeah.
Okay.
Next.
Perhaps I can just add on this support letter from stakeholders.
Yep.
So I've seen stakeholders support letter like this. So I like this project. I'm willing to support this. So this kind of one sentence will not help. So we need some more details of how they will contribute and what type of engagement they will be in. So please write as much as possible so that it's clear. We know what exactly will be happening.
Yeah. And it should be also clear that they're very aware of what you're doing in the project. It shouldn't be a general letter from your previous project where you have collaborated with certain industry, something like that. Because remember that the special project is supposed to be driving forward to engage industry, to engage government, to solve real world problems, national issues. So in your letter with the partners, it must be very, very clear. If this is the problem you're trying to solve, what's the role of the partner? It shouldn't be that they're just giving, something like that. It has to be very, very clear. Okay. Next, Nohafiza, thank you very much. The staff that is on sabbatical leave eligible to apply as leader of work package leaders? No. You have to be active, at least during the commencement of the projects, I think, yeah. Prof said, if you're on sabbatical leave now, but you're finishing your sabbatical in a month, should be okay. Yep. Yep. Next, if our IG is still active as a sub-program 1, can we still apply? No. Sorry. How many projects can one PI apply? Apply? They say one. Just one. Yes. Yeah.
But special
Yeah.
project you can apply.
Yeah,
Special
projects, yes. Yep. I mean, meaning if you have one IRG, one special project, you're fine. Yeah. But don't apply 3 IRG, for example. I mean, then you'll be splitting up. It's better that you focus on a single program. Do we have any live questions from the audience? You can raise your hands. Yes, Sapuka.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
Yes. I just want to ask in regards to the program lead. So if the overall program leader has to lead one of these sub-programs, right?
Yes.
So which means you will have up to 3 leaders and then everybody else are members. That's what you're trying to say is the new change. Which has occurred.
We don't call it sub-programs, just to clarify. We call it work packages. Okay?
Yeah.
And they're not like previously where you have a sub-program leader and you have members in that sense.
Yeah.
But the work package leads is supposed to be responsible to actually head that effort to solve the problem. There's no membership is across the board. Yeah, and one of the work package leads will serve as the program leader.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
That makes sense. All right, thank you. I just wanted to clarify on that.
You're welcome. How many, that was done, PI can be as co-PI? If yes, in how many maximum projects? You mean program work package lead, is it? Can the PI be a work package lead in many projects? So the answer is no, just one only. Yep. Somebody raised hand? Siapa dia? Can we have Ranagari? Do you have any? Yeah, Muhammad Shakil. Are you there? Are you there? No? Okay, we'll hold that for now. We have a question from Prof. Vengadeswaran. We from UMPDEC and another person, can they from engineering and science faculty? It depends on the nature of the project. Like I said, although we specify 2 faculties minimum, but if the discipline is the same, for example, you have somebody from electronic engineering, for example, from UMPDEC, and somebody from engineering who's also doing electrical engineering, then no, you cannot. Again, please do not look for technicalities, but rather understand the spirit of the projects and the program and work on that. Okay? We have Prof. Ramesh Kasi. Can the PI of previous IIRG be PI for this cycle? Yes, but we were hoping that you would be pushing your previous IIRG program forward rather than trying to come back to the same source of funding. But technically, yes, you can. Do we need any MOU or MOI? If you have a proper MOU, then yes, fantastic. But again, it has to be very, very specific. It cannot be a general MOU or a general LOI. Okay? If Prof. Jivan, If SAPI in previous IIRG managed to use all the fund in his or her grant and satisfied the publication requirement, other SAPI has not satisfied the respective requirements, can the SAPI join the new IIRG group for IIRG 5 application? Group? What do you mean? Technically, yes, but again, like I said, the IIRG is not supposed to be something like a one-off thing where you don't continue further. We would rather you focus on that and work with that and get to the end of it, get the real outcome, output, and impact. Yeah, but technically, yes. But it will be a bit unusual if your program, not all of it has performed well. The idea of having the program and sub-projects is that you work together so that everyone can perform. So that would suggest there was something not really working well for that program. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah. Next, Prof. Safia, special projects. Can one of the stakeholders is UM itself? Prof. Hasib?
It can be, but in addition, it cannot be the only one. First of all, it has to be justified how they qualify to be stakeholders, but we would like to have external stakeholders as the stakeholders. So if you have enough external stakeholder and one from UM, and if you can justify that, that is okay. But if you have just one and that is from UM, I think that will not be acceptable.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Hasib. More questions? Live questions? Raise your hand, please. If you have any additional things you need to clarify. Okay. No. Professor, is there anything you'd like to add? I mean, while waiting for questions to come up, if
It's okay, I think.
Yep. Yeah, and we don't see any hands or more questions in the chat. Maybe the other cluster deans who are present. Oh yeah, we have somebody. Prof. Nam Hui Yin. Are you there, Hui Yin?
Hello, can you hear my voice?
Yes, clearly.
Hi, good morning. Prof, I would like to ask either this internal grant or the IIRG, the lecturer which is contract is it eligible to apply? The contract is less than is 1 year contract only.
Should be okay. Yeah, yes. Yes, you're
For
eligible to apply. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any of the cluster deans or deputy deans? Prof. Staff, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, but and not at the moment. But if anyone has any precise questions after looking through the guidelines, happy for them to email the cluster or me directly for anything related to social sciences and humanities here.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Prof. Staff.
Just would like to add. So I would like to seek apology from the audience if I sounded too much like science oriented. Actually, I don't mean to do that. And we believe at the cluster there are a lot of roles that social science can play. In fact, we encourage the social scientist as the lead of the project, as the let's say the PI of the project. So please feel free to talk to us. And we see a lot of scope. So you can apply as a single separate IIRG or a special project, and you can be a valuable partner in even science-oriented project.
Yep.
So please do explore all these possibilities.
Yeah, thanks, Professor. And actually, we have had this discussion quite a few times among the research managers, including cluster. And we believe that social science has a very, very high, higher possibility of having good impact, because a lot of times the impact is going to be societal and economic, and all that actually falls within the social sciences. The sciences can do the fundamental groundwork moving forward, but the idea to identify what the impact is going to be, who are the agencies to be targeted, more than likely that will come from the social sciences. So that's why we want our researchers to work together in a team. And again, like I said, don't work on the technicality, saying one faculty and one faculty. Get the spirit of it. Get people who can contribute towards the impact of your project. And again, like we mentioned just now, a lot of times it's going to be people from the social sciences. So work with that in mind. We have another question from Prof. Salma. Stakeholder must be industry. How about government agency? It can be government agency, no problem. They're fine. Yep. Next, we have a question from Prof. Tiru. You there?
Selamat pagi. Good morning, Prof.
Okay.
Just a quick one. You mentioned about sabbatical a while ago, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Those on sabbatical, like say just a 5-month sabbatical, are they allowed to apply? Or strictly anyone who's on sabbatical not allowed to apply?
Like this, Prof. Tiru. If your sabbatical is going to be over by December, which is the commencement of the project, yeah, then I think you'll be okay.
Oh,
But if you just started your 9-month sabbatical,
yeah,
and it's only going to finish next year, then no, you're not going to be eligible.
Okay, Prof. Thanks. Thank
Okay.
you. Thanks. Thank
Welcome. We have a question in the chat, I think. Ada satu lagi soalan. Mana dia? Further down. Okay, we have a question from Muhammad Farid. That's not a question, it's a statement, sorry. There are many RMK categories that fit social sciences. Yes, because like I said, if it's about impact, a lot of it is going to come from the social sciences. The next is from Prof. Ibrahim. The challenge is more for fundamental of science research, but here we go. Okay, that's a statement. Yes, here we go, Prof. Ibrahim. Thanks. Again, any more questions, please? I think it's good to have a discussion like this because not only on the technicalities, because I think it will improve understanding as well. We have something from Noradila. For the special projects, are there any restrictions in the budgeting, i.e. no equipment, etc.? Prof. Hasib, technical question.
As I mentioned, this is a flexible scheme, so we will be happy to consider. But again, you know that this is just 150K, so please consider that. And second thing is we want this as a seed, so we want you to grow this maybe 4 times to 10 times. And then if you have more money, please do as much as you like, depending on the granting agency's requirements.
Okay, thanks, Prof. Hasib. More questions, please. From Shahid Bashir, IIRG, senior lecturer, and associate professor eligible, yes. But special project, anyone. There are no restrictions at all. Yep. Okay. More questions? You're welcome. Do you have additional questions? We'll wait for a couple of minutes. If not, I think we're pretty much there. We can end. Any questions? Prof. Noran, ada tak? Prof. Noran, would you like to add anything? Oh, Prof. Noran tak ada. Sorry. Prof. Noran is not here. My mistake. Dr. Nadia? We can't hear you, Dr. Nadia. No, not really.
Really?
Now we can.
Okay. So just in case you have any questions regarding health and well-being, so just email us. So we'll be in touch with you, via email. Thank you.
Cool, thanks, Dr. Siti Nadia. Dr. Juan, anything you'd like to add?
No, nothing to add.
Cool, thanks. Dr. Zabidi?
Because still got Prof. Steph here, so Prof. Steph will answer.
Okay.
Mengelak tu.
Just
Rujuk pada bos dulu.
Aduh,
Okay,
sama-sama
no
lah.
worries.
Just email me
Yep.
at my personal email or the research cluster office
Yep.
email. No problem, guys.
Thank you.
Lawrence tu kenapa jawab macam tu? Okay, cool. Any more questions? Okay, I think we can end here, more or less. But as has already been mentioned many times just now, if you have any questions, anything that needs clarification, please feel free to write us an email. We'll do our best to respond to it, and then we can work on whatever problem, issues, or concerns that you may have. So if there is nothing further from everyone, again, we thank you and wish you the best and inspiration coming so that you can prepare fantastic proposals for the special projects and also for the IIRG Cycle 5. So thank you very much and happy writing. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Prof.